Well, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this video, but I think it needs to be talked about because Escape from Tarkov, it has a huge identity crisis going on right now because half of the community wants a PvE looter shooter, and the other half understands that this game was never meant to be PvE at all. So if you're just playing Tarkov to avoid fights, rack quests, or just farm AI, you're really missing the entire point of what an extraction shooter is and what Tarkov is meant to be. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down PvE versus PvP in Escape from Tarkov. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of why PvE is good and why PvP is good and the bad things about it. And I'm going to give you guys my opinions as someone who's been playing the game since 2018 on what I truly think about both game modes. So without further ado, my name is Bo with the 90 Degree Keyboard, and let's get right to it. All right, guys, so this is a huge controversial topic in the extraction shooter game Escape from Tarkov. Now, Escape from Tarkov came out in 2015, and it was a small niche. It was a game that not many people knew about. It got overshadowed by the Battle Royale craze in 2018. Around that time, we had arena shooters like Call of Duty and Battlefield that were popping off, and people didn't really have an opportunity to play a game like Tarkov because console was still a main base of players. A lot more people played on console than on PC. So for the last 10 years, not many people really knew about Tarkov, and if they knew about Tarkov, they probably watched someone that streamed it and might have said, you know, I want to try a game like that, but there was nothing like an extraction shooter ever really released to console that caught the world by storm until back in 2025 when Arc Raiders came out. And since Arc Raiders came out, we've seen a huge spike in people playing extraction shooters. And extraction shooters, which I believe are now the new genre of games that will be taking off in the next at least 5 years from now, especially because of how popular Arc Raiders is and the fact that Tarkov came out in 1.0, more people are able to play extraction shooters. So what is an extraction shooter? I think that's the first thing we should talk about. That's super important, is what is an extraction shooter, because I think people have a very big misconception on what an extraction shooter is. So an extraction shooter is high risk, high reward. That being said, what does that mean? Well, unlike battle royales, where you drop in and you loot and you die and you re-queue, or Call of Duty where you build your loadout and you jump into a map and you run around and gun and get XP, extraction shooters offer in-game progression and outside of game progression. They also make it to where you have to bring your own loot into the raid, and the risk portion is you might not make it out of that raid with that loot. All that stuff that you grinded, all of the good guns that you want to bring in, all of your ammo could be gone in the snap of the fingers because, let's be real, the trees genuinely speak in Escape from Tarkov. That's the risk. What's the reward? Well, the reward is feeling accomplished when you complete a quest, or killing that team that's coming after you and disrespecting them by taking all of their loot and all their hard grind items and bringing it back and adding it to your stash. There's a mini economy within the game, as well as a way to make in-game currency from scavving and from PMCing. So this is all just different aspects of what an extraction shooter is that keeps people playing and makes them pretty addicted to, well, at least in my opinion, why I'm addicted is because there's always something to grind for. That's what an extraction shooter is. So let's talk about it. I'm going to start with PvE. What are the pros of PvE? Now, I've been playing the game since 2018. Really, 2017. I started playing a little bit more in 2018, and I started out with the PvP version of the game, which was, well, it really made you think, why the hell am I playing this? So when PvE came out in July 2024, I think it was a really good idea because it is a good way for new players to understand the game. See, Tarkov doesn't just have the ability of not knowing where extracts are and no maps, but the gun mechanics are different. The healing mechanics are different. The quests, there's a million different quests that you have to learn to do. And around this time, in the last 10 years, if you've just now started playing Tarkov, you're kind of at a disadvantage to the people who've been putting about 6,000, 10,000 hours into the game. So I think PvE is a good trainer for new players. You're able to pull the maps up on the wiki. You're able to pull your quests up on the wiki. You're able to learn how to do the basic Tarkov steps without that stress of being one-tapped in the head by a guy sitting on a mountaintop miles away with a 50 BMG sniper rifle. What else is PvE good for? Well, like I said, it's low stress and helps you learn the maps, mechanics, and quests. It's good for warming up aim and practicing movement. I definitely use PvE to practice if I change my sensitivity and how does it feel and working on my movement. And you don't lose the gear the same way, so it's less punishing because, well, if you insure your gear in PvE, you're going to get it back 100% of the time unless your teammate or your friends steal your items because, well, there's no one else in the map besides you and the AI that you're playing against, so all your stuff is going to stay there. What are the cons of PvE? Well, I think there's a huge problem because in PvE, because it really takes away from the essence of what Tarkov is meant to be. See, Tarkov was meant to be a PvP only game that punishes you and puts you into an immersive combat scenario where anything and everything could hurt you, where you're faced with real world consequences, good and bad, and making the right choices, and you need to learn from your mistakes in this game. I think we live in a society where people are afraid to fail and not make mistakes, and PvE doesn't give you that same defeat feeling if you make that mistake because, well, you'll get your gear back and you'll have enough money to buy a lot of stuff because, well, you don't lose a lot of money in this game unless you're truly really bad at playing Tarkov. There is an endless amount of ways to make money more in PvE than there is in PvP. I think that there's also a cap at some point where you hit when you max out all the traders, when you go into gunfights, you have all the good gear, all the good loot. The gunfights start getting really boring, especially when you start getting the AI's patterns down and you start predicting what the AI do. Because really, they're all just scabs. Besides the bosses, the AI PMCs are just nerfed versions of rogues and raiders that you would play against in PvP. Loot stops feeling valuable when, well, no one could take stuff from you. You find a Letix in a raid, you're going to be the first person to get to that Letix or that high-tier loot item. You really have all the keys, you can unlock anything in any map. There's not that stress of going into that marked room and someone camping it. Literally, the world is your oyster when you're playing PvE, and it really doesn't give you that stress feeling, and it helps you understand that a high-risk, high-reward feeling as well, because that's pretty nerfed in PvE. Without real players hunting you, Tarkov stops being a hardcore extraction shooter and turns into a repetitive looter shooter. Now, I say hardcore with quotations because hardcore in Battle State's mind is tedious work more than anything, but that's about last wipe, and that's for another video. So, what are the pros and cons of PvP? So, PvP, every fight is unpredictable. Every decision matters. Positioning, sound, timing. The mistakes that you make can cost you your entire stash or loot that you've brought into raid with you, or all the items that you've picked. The plan of going to whatever quest you need to do, you might have a little bit of a detour if someone's camping it, or if you run into another team and die. It gives you that unknown feeling, which is what the essence of an extraction shooter. Winning fights feels earned and not scripted, because obviously you can't predict how real players play unless you're cheating. Also, I believe that a feeling and that dopamine rush of completing a quest and achieving something in PvP is definitely heightened because you're actually earning it rather than just doing pretty much a speed run through all the maps that you're doing. PvP creates tension. PvP creates stories. PvP is why your hands shake and your body shakes after the raid. And let me tell you, that adrenaline rush is real no matter how long you've been playing this game. It might get dumbed down a little bit, but there is still some times where you get that adrenaline rush, especially if you're crawling to extract because you're out of stam and you have all the loot that you need and you got that Letix or whatever it might be, and there's a guy chasing you throwing grenades and you barely get out with the skin of your teeth from that extract. There is nothing, no words could describe how awesome it feels when something like that happens. So what are the cons of PvP? I gotta have to be 100% honest with you guys. PvP isn't perfect, and it's definitely not easy. It's brutal for new players. You 100% will die a lot, and that's how you learn. Gear fear is real, and this is for some people who really put a lot of, value in pixels on a screen, in my opinion. I think you can pretty much work your way back up to the top if you're out of money for rubles, and if you play smart and use your brain and have more than a room temperature IQ, you'll survive a lot more raids than you think. And skill gaps feel unfair. Well, I don't know if I want to say skill gaps feel unfair. I feel like we've had skill-based matchmaking in games like Call of Duty that have blanketed video games and more than just Call of Duty, but other video games that have added, like any competitive shooter that has added skill-based matchmaking, where good players are punished by being put against other good players, and bad players aren't able to learn and progress because all they are playing people at their skill level. See, Tarkov doesn't offer skill-based matchmaking, and I think that's kind of a pro and a con, because you're able to learn from your mistakes and grow as a gamer if you're playing against someone who's better than you. And let me be real, there's always a bigger fish. No matter how much of a Chad you think you are, there is someone that's going to be a lot better than you, and that's growth. There's always something to learn, no matter how many hours you put into Escape from Tarkov. But like I said, the difficulty isn't a flaw, it's the identity of the game. And that's the whole essence of Tarkov, is to teach you a real world skills and experiences that you can put into your own life by persevering. How far you get, how determined are you? Simple things like that. So I think extraction shooters are not supposed to be comfortable. They're not supposed to be stressful. They're supposed to be stressful. They're supposed to be punish you, and you're supposed to make mistakes. PvE can teach you Tarkov, but PvP is what defines Tarkov. The moment you remove the threat of other players, you remove literally the soul of the game. And I do want to add, one of the cons of PvP is cheating. I want to just touch this topic really quick. We live in a world where people just want to cut corners and not put in the work, and you'll get cheating in any video game that you play. I mean, even look right now, Arc Raiders has a ton of cheating. I don't think that's even a con of this game, because no matter where you go, there's going to be cheaters, and there's no way for Battle.net or any other company to ban all the cheaters. It's just something that you have to push through and deal with. And it sucks, yes, but it's really not a con of the game. So if you prefer PvE, that's fine, but understand that you're opting out of Tarkov. It's about farming AI. It's about having an easy time. You're really missing out about the entirety of what Tarkov truly is. If you want a true extraction shooter experience with that high risk, high reward mentality and feeling, PvP is the way you should go. And I honestly think I want you guys to let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Tell me, are you playing PvP? What do you like about it, or what do you hate about it? If you're playing PvE, what makes you want to play PvE? I've played both game modes, and I definitely enjoy PvP more. And I think if I was someone who is brand new to Tarkov, I would probably push to play more PvP, because I want that actual extraction shooter experience, and I'm not someone that wants everything handed to me in life and everything to be easy. So that's just my opinions. Other than that, guys, if you made it to this part of the video and you enjoyed this video and you took something from it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Other than that, guys, catch me live on Twitch throughout the week. Links are in my bio. Other than that, good luck on your raids. My name is Bo with an Under Your Keyboard, and peace.